Bamboo green. Speaking of Yuk, he is from Hunan, but I don't know which prefecture or county he is from. His family was poor, and he ran out of money on the way back after failing the imperial examination. The fisherman was too embarrassed to beg for food and was very hungry. So he temporarily rested in the King Wu temple, knelt down and worshipped the statue to pray for blessings. After the fisher prayed, he came out and lay on the porch. Suddenly, someone took him to see the King of Wu. The man knelt down and reported, "The black team is still short of one soldier. This man can fill the gap." King Wu said, "Yes." He gave the fisherman a black suit. After putting it on, the fisherman turned into a crow, flapped his wings, and flew out. Seeing the crows gathering together, the fisherman flew away with them. They landed on the sails and masts of each ship in 2s and 3s. The passengers on the ship threw the meat into the air, and the crows flew up in the air to eat it. The fisherman also learned to do this and was full in a short time. He flew to the treetops and felt very proud. After 2 or 3 days, the King of Wu felt sorry for him and promised him a female crow, called Zhuqing. They get along very lovingly. Every time the fisherman goes to pick up food, he is always not alert enough. Zhuqing often advised him not to go, but he didn't listen. One day, a group of king soldiers passed by and shot the fisherman in the chest with a bullet. Fortunately, Zhuqing flew away with it in her mouth and was not caught. The crows were enraged and flapped their wings to create waves. The waves were so violent that the boat was capsized. Zhuqing brought food to feed the fish guest, but the fish guest was seriously injured and died at night. The fisherman suddenly woke up as if from a dream and saw that he was still lying in the temple. At first, the people living here saw Yuk dead and didn't know who he was. They touched his body and it was still not cold, so they asked people to come and take care of him from time to time. At this time, people asked the fisherman why and collected some money to send him home. 3 years later, the fisherman passed by this place again and went to the temple to pay homage to King Wu. He placed the food on the table and called the crows to come down and eat together. He also said, "If Zhuqing is here, please stay and don't leave." After eating, the crows flew away. Later, when the fishermen came back from Zhongzhou, they came to visit the Wang temple again and offered pigs and sheep to worship. After the offering was completed, he prepared a sumptuous meal for the crows and wished Zhuqing to stay. That night, Yuk stayed in Hu village and was sitting with a candle lit. Suddenly, a bird seemed to fly down in front of the table. The fisherman took a look and saw that she was a beauty in her 20s. The woman smiled and said, "Are you okay?" The fisherman asked her who she was in surprise. The woman said, "Don't you know Zhuqing?" The fisherman was very happy and asked her where she came from. Zhuqing said, "I am now the goddess of the Han River and rarely return to my hometown. Before this, the crow messenger told me twice about the friendship you invited, so I came here to meet you." The fisherman was even more excited and moved. The two of them were like a long-lost couple, very much in love. Yuk asked Zhuqing to go to the south together, and Zhuqing wanted to ask Yuk to go to the west together, but in the end he didn't decide where to go. The next day, Yuk just woke up and saw Zhuqing had gotten up. When he opened his eyes, he saw a huge candle in the hall shining brightly, but he was not on the ship. He stood up in surprise and asked, "Where is this place?" Zhuqing smiled and said, "This is Hanyang. My home is your home. Why do you have to go to the south?" The sky gradually became brighter, and the maids and women came over one after another. Waiters, wine and food have been brought in. A low table was placed on the big bed, and the couple drank together. The fisherman asked, "Where is my servant?" Zhuqing replied, "On the boat." The fisherman was worried that the boat owner could not wait long. Zhuqing said, "It doesn't matter, I will reward him for you." So the two of them ate, drank and talked and laughed day and night, and the fisherman was so happy that he forgot to go home. The captain woke up from his dream and was surprised to see that he was in Hanyang. The servant looked for the fish guest, but there was no news. The captain wanted to go elsewhere, but the rope could not be untied, so the two had to stay on the boat together. More than 2 months later, Yuk suddenly remembered to go home and said to Zhuqing, "I am here and cannot interact with my relatives." Besides, you and I are nominally husband and wife, but you have never even been to my house. How can you do that? Zhuqing said, don't say I can't go. Even if you go, you have a wife at home. How can you accommodate me? Why not let me live here as your other home? Yuke hated that the journey was too far and he couldn't often come and go often. Zhuqing took out a piece of black clothes and said, the old clothes you originally wore are still there. If you miss me, put on this clothes and come here. When you get here, I will take off your clothes again. So Zhuqing laid out delicacies to bid farewell to the fisherman. The fisherman was so drunk that he fell asleep. When I woke up, I was already on the boat. When I saw it, I saw that the boat was parked at the place where it was originally parked in Dongting Lake. The owner and the servants were all there. They looked at each other, very shocked, and asked where the fisherman had gone. The fisherman also felt surprised and disappointed. He saw a bundle beside his pillow. When he opened it, he found new clothes and shoes and socks given by Zhuqing. The black coat was also folded inside. There was another embroidered bag tied around his waist. When he reached out and touched it, he found it was full of silver. So they sailed south, and when they reached the shore, the fisherman paid the boat owner a large sum of money and went home. A few months after returning home, Yuke missed Han Shui bitterly, so he secretly took out his black clothes and put them on. Wings immediately sprouted from his sides, and he quickly flew into the air. After 2 hours, we arrived at Han Shui River. The fisherman flew around and looked down. When he saw a building on the island, he flew down and landed on the ground. A maid had already seen him and shouted, "The official is here." After a while, Zhuqing came out and ordered the servants to take off the black clothes of Yuke. Yuke felt that the feathers on his body fell off immediately. Zhuqing held his hand and entered the room and said, "You came just in time. I will give birth soon." The fisher asked her jokingly, "Is it viviparous or oviparous?" Zhuqing said, "I have become a god now, and my skin and bones have become hard, which is different from the past." A few days later, Zhuqing gave birth. The child is wrapped in a thick afterbirth, like a big egg. When he opened it, he saw that it was a boy. The fisherman was very happy and named him Han Chan. 3 days later, the goddesses of sweat came to congratulate him and sent him clothes, food and treasures as gifts. The goddesses, all of whom were very beautiful and are 30 years old, approached the bed and pressed the children's noses with their thumbs, saying that it would increase longevity. After the goddesses left, the fisherman asked, "Who were those who came just now?" Zhuqing said, "There are also the goddesses of Han Shui. The one walking behind in lotus white clothes is the legendary Zheng Zhaofu who passed by Hongao platform. The fairy I met who gave me my robe as a gift." After a few months, Zhuqing sent the fisherman home by boat. There are no sails or oars on the boat, and it floats on its own. When they arrived on land, there were already people waiting by the roadside with their horses, and the fisherman went home. From then on, the two kept in contact. After a few years, Han Chan grew even more beautiful, and the fisherman loved him very much. Yuke's wife, he, is infertile and often wants to see Chinese products. Yuke told Zhuqing what happened. Zhuqing prepared his luggage and sent his son back with his father, agreeing to return in 3 months. He loved Chinese products more than his own children. More than 10 months later, I still couldn't bear to let him go back. One day, Han Chan suddenly fell ill and died. She cried until she died. The fisherman went to Han Shui to tell Zhuqing. As soon as he entered the door, he saw Han Chan lying barefoot on the bed and asked Zhuqing happily. Zhuqing said, "You have broken your promise for a long time. I miss my son, so I recruited him." The fisherman said that this was because he loved children too much. Zhuqing said, "When I have another child, I will let Hanbin go back." More than a year later, Zhuqing gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. The boy was named Hanxing and the girl was named Yupei. The fisherman returned home with Han products. However, fishermen always visit Han Shui 3 or 4 times a year. Later I felt that the road was far and inconvenient. The fisher moved his family to Hanyang. When Han Chan was 12 years old, he entered the county school. Zhuqing believed that there were no beautiful women in the world, so he sent Han Shen away and married him before letting him come back. The wife born in Han Dynasty is named, and she is also the daughter of a priest. Later, when Mr. He died, Han Sheng and his sister came to pay their respects for the funeral. After the burial, Han Sheng stayed here. The fisherman left with the jade pendant and never came back.
Alright, this story has come to an end. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you.